Ask sessions for the OES Center, and we are asking your favorite people the questions that you give to us. Sitting in front of me right now is one of the most important artists to come out of Northern Ireland in recent times, Brady Mons Watson. Soak, hello.
I feel like I wanted to drop in sound effects there when you said that.
Do I have it? Let me see if I've got a sound effect here.
Fireworks and stuff.
Oh, I just have nice music to speak over.
Very professional.
Doesn't work. It doesn't work. But yeah, like we have loads of questions that were sent in to you, and you know, you started your musical career and musical journey at a very early age, like much earlier than most people. So like I assume by like what age are you now? Like 20.
I just turned 25.
25. Yeah, so by this stage you should have much more pearls of wisdom than most people double your age.
I don't know about that.
signed to Rough Trade, Mercury Music nominated, and here we are. And me asking you a simple question: what advice would you give to someone starting out with nothing, who's wanting to get into music, whether it's writing, whether it's gigging?
I'd say just like first and foremost, immerse yourself in like every element of kind of that scene. Like go to as much gigs as you can, kind of try and hang out with as many like-minded people as you can, because that's what's gonna like that's your entry point really, is like into your local scene, is to try and absorb as much of that as possible. um and then after that, I mean, simultaneously kind of just try to create as much as you possibly can. Like try and get as much inspiration from your local scene, but also I guess the world wide web. And just create should be your kind of priority. Make as much as you can, because that's where you're gonna learn the most, just by making mistakes and making nice things. And that's the trial and error process. But I think ultimately it's like really immerse yourself in the scene, go to all the gigs, support the local bands. And that's kind of where you accidentally fall into positions like opening up for people or meeting people that might write with you or play in your band or stuff like that, is definitely the starting point.
You kind of have to be you have to write a lot of music to get good at the start as well. Like generally the first thing that you write's not going to be great. You kind of almost have to have a bit of a strong will to be able to stick with being not great at writing music at the beginning, don't you?
Yeah. And I think as well, that's like the whole, like it's very easy to sit down and start writing a song and be like, no, it's shit, I'm done. I'm like, and be really, it's very easy to be like consumed with doubt over things, especially in the creative world. So I'd say like be nice to yourself and be kind to yourself as you start to write music. Like just doesn't even matter if it's good or bad. It matters if you're enjoying yourself and if you're having a nice time while you do it. Um, and just make for the sake of making, for the joy of it, and then come back to things and review them afterwards. I think the most important part of the creative process is enjoyment and fulfillment, um, for your own self before anybody else has heard it. Because I mean, down the line, even if you show other people, if you don't like it, then there's not really much point in any of it, even if other people do. Um, but it's definitely just make. That's kind of the biggest advice I could give.
Those first gigs are generally the ones that happen in the backs of pubs around your small town. They were for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's the same, was the same for yourself, but like getting those gigs can be quite difficult. And you're right. Generally, immersing yourself in the scene is that you need to be in the arena to get picked, don't you?
Yeah. And I think as well, like those first gigs that you'll do are the ones you're really going to have to fight for, because nobody, I mean, typically nobody really cares for you at that point in time. Like that's where you have to prove yourself and really convince people to take you on. But I think as well, it's the first couple of gigs that you're trying to create a cannonball kind of effect, where, or a domino effect, where you have one good gig and then you get asked to the next gig. And, you know, it's kind of, you play one gig off another gig and you get a momentum going. So yeah. Right.
What does an artist's average week look like? Like, do you sort of like go, this is how much time I spend on writing, this is how much time I spend on recording, this is how much time I spend on gigging, or is it just like a bit of a free for all?
It's changed drastically in the past couple of years. There was a point in time where I literally like had no kind of schedule routine or anything, where I just like live a pretty chill, like a lot of my friends are stoners and just kind of like hanging around with them. And then in the evening, I would write a lot of music, and I would kind of just, when I felt like it or felt like I had to say something, I would go and write music. And now I'm like kind of on a constant process of like, I'm always writing lyrics in my phone. I'm always making a melody or a riff, or so it's very constant, and it really wasn't like when I was younger. But I
Mm.
think I had to work up to that. Like I definitely started to create a schedule where I would wake up and I would have breakfast and walk around, listen to a lot of things I liked, and kind of just get into the musicy mindset.
Mhm.
Or I'd read and I try to find inspiration in something, so that when I went into, I have like a room where I have everything now and I work from, and I would build up that kind of inspiration or that music mind, and then I'd go in there and kind of be ready to settle into something. So now my routine is very much that. I'll go in and I'll hang in my music room and just play about for ages, really. I'll just spend like Monday to Friday, I pretty much go into that room, spend like 6 hours a day in there. And I mean, in the hopes that I'll find a song, or a song will come to me, or I'll finish a song, or I'll work on a song I was working on. But if it's also just not happening, I'll like sit and learn technical things like on guitar or piano or in a producer level, just because like I really have come to believe in that 10,000 hours theory of like that's what makes you, the best at what you do. So I think even if I'm not like hitting a creative stride that day, at least I'm, you know, investing time in something that's going to come to aid me in the future. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how my day goes. And then I'll get a coffee somewhere nearby, just to like, if I'm doing my head in with concentration.
Mm.
And then kind of like 5 or 6, depending on like if I'm really like having a great time with what I'm doing, I'll just like sit and do that for forever. But if not, I'll just do a big mad walk around, and then kind of like for the evenings take it pretty chill, socialize, or like I spend a lot of time. I mean, I just love music, so I spend so much time researching artists I like, or watching artists I like, or listening to artists I like, and kind of just finding out more about things like that.
Yeah, that's
I
one thing
read
I've always
more
got.
now.
Yeah, I've always got that from you. Like you're like a total nerd, like a total music nerd. Like you know all of the good new bands that are starting. Like
That's the best thing ever, though. Like, there's nothing. I love just like sitting down with someone who is like-minded and hearing all the bands that they really like, that like are just coming up or just starting out. Like, there's nothing more fun than someone who's really like getting so excited and hyped off a song, and then they can share it with you, and you can also like return the favor with something you really like. Is the best.
how do you find fresh inspiration and keep things consistent?
Um, I try to kind of stray out of my comfort zone. Like, there's definitely like certain genres of music I'm more like attracted to, and like things that I'll get used to, and then like there was a while where I would really listen to the National, and I would just keep going back to them, and then I'd notice that I would like start to write really kind of sad, like monotone songs. Like it kind of feeds into your, after a while it really like rests in your brain. So then I like push it out and start listening like Frank Ocean or something like that, or I don't know, like Sigur Rós, like really just switch up what kind of things I'm consuming, I guess.
Just anything I play on chill beats, basically.
I just go and I get your playlist and I just
Yes,
go through that.
I'm the full inspiration for everything that you've ever done. I know I know that's what you're saying. That's what I'm taking from it anyway.
That's exactly what I'm glad you could interpret it exactly how I meant it.
But like that inspiration comes from literature and art and other places as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, more so now than before. But I think like even I find a lot of inspiration in movies and stuff. Like that's something over time I've come more to realize, like art isn't just like, well, I came to understand art as like music and everything like that, because it's such a fusion of emotion, like with words and feeling. And the more I've got older, the more I've come to realize that like movies like Juno are like phenomenal, and like there's
Oh,
so
love it.
much emotion and stuff like that. And I found that movies like that so inspiring. And also like books is a new one for me. I was like severely dyslexic when I was younger, so I think I was always like intimidated by books because I read like a turtle, like I was so slow. And now over time I've like really sped up my stuff. So I started reading loads, and definitely poetry and books is something that fuels inspiration a lot these days. There's actually I just read I'm about to start that Sinead O'Connor book, which looks incredible.
Mhm.
But I just finished one called Crying in H Mart. Do you know Japanese breakfast?
Yeah.
You should read that. It's like one of the best things I've ever read. And I feel like I could write an album just based off how sad that made me.
But yeah, I mean that's it. Like I mean, like, we definitely have like similar taste and stuff like that. And it is just it's talking about things and creating that like creating that conversation too. I think that like with my dog barking at the back of me, I think probably says that that's probably the end of the interview. And if you can hear, she's saying soak very quickly. Listen, soak, 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 soak.
I'm gonna sample that.
Yeah, got to do it. Brady, you're a legend. You're a G. Thank you.
Thank you so much.